Space Group， Mr. Cloud， 他为我们来做这个演讲，就是怎么从 traditional 这样子的一个制造进入这个 Industry 4.0 的制造。我们欢迎他，谢谢。
Hello again. So I'm glad to be able to come up and share with you some of the progress in Canada regarding Industry 4.0 and specific mini case study on in our small and medium enterprises. So this is just a pictorial, and it was very well explained by my colleague from Siemens. So I don't need to go through this. Excellent. This was presented yesterday, already shown. It was showing that Canada is the #2 country in the world for aerospace attractiveness because it has all the elements of the cluster, as Michael Porter says at the bottom as a quote. And on the right-hand side, it's a reminder that we have the federal government in 10 provinces, and every level of government has a package to help its aerospace community. Quebec being the largest one, on the right-hand side, Quebec is actually 50% of the turnover, the sales, 70% of the research and development, and where most OEMs lie, obviously like Bombardier and Pratt & Whitney. So this was presented again yesterday as the best home environment, with all the metrics going in the right direction, so we're very blessed. And I will not go into details because most of you were here yesterday. This is a bit of a different view, and I like it even more today. Yesterday, I talked on the left-hand side about the program Support to Aerospace and Investment in Canada, and on the right-hand side, I mentioned the Supercluster Initiative. And then I realized this is 3 plus 2 instead of 5 plus 2 in Taiwan. So it's 3 technologies that are funded, 3 clusters, and 2 segments that are also funded. Segments of industry that are very characteristic to Canada, which are protein and ocean. So the 3 other superclusters are actually related to digital, which is in Vancouver, advanced manufacturing in Ontario, and artificial intelligence in Montreal, in Quebec. So this is just more of a detail. What I wanted to show you here on the bottom left, you can go and see on the web. It's a program description, an applicant, the funding. It was supposed to start this year. I think it took a bit more time for the organizers and the winners to be selected, private enterprise leadership, and then for the structure to be ready. But now it's open to bid a research package. There's about $1 billion Canadian available, divided amongst the supercluster from the government, and it's a 50% matching. So this is a good example of what needs to do, what a fostering environment needs to do to make sure that they have a successful industry. So this is very timely with Dr. Chen, excellent presentation this morning. I thought that his presentation was very educational and very entertaining. And for a presentation to be entertaining, you need real intelligence, not artificial intelligence. And we could see this with him. So I think what I want to say here is Montreal is the leading capital, I think, of artificial intelligence right now because of past investment, not just the new supercluster, because of the people as well. And I did not make this up. You see the first person on the top is Yoshua Benjo, and he's the person that Dr. Chen mentioned as having essentially achieved a breakthrough in deep learning. And you saw, remember that curve that Dr. Chen presented? That was him. And he's the most quoted artificial intelligence expert in the world, according to Google research. And he's French, but he studied at McGill University in Montreal, where he earned his PhD. And the interesting part is that he's essentially the CTO for AI Institute, but he also participated in a startup that was launched 2 years ago in 2016, and the startup is a bit like what Dr. Chen showed us is actually happening here as well. They provide real solution to real companies on a solution basis. The last thing I want to say about AI in Montreal is that you look at the bottom right-hand side, the outcome. Most major companies that are trying to gain leadership have established some form of lab, research institute in Montreal. So from the Google, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, more recently in the last several months, Thales, Samsung in February, I think. So it's becoming the critical mass. There's 9,000 students in AI in Montreal and several hundred researchers, and the students are bachelor, masters, and PhD. So very much the focus of development in Montreal. So that's another example, and again, the serendipity with my colleague at Siemens. That's an example of fostering industry cooperation with academia. So Siemens came, and they have a industrial turbine facility in Montreal where they adapt aviation gas turbines such as a Trent derivative for industrial application. They've acquired that from Rolls-Royce a few years ago, and now they're funding a chair at ETS University. So you see on top you have McGill, Siemens, ETS, and Concordia. So ETS has a lot of leadership in advanced manufacturing and aerospace, probably because Dr. Hani Mustafa is leading it. He's an ex-Pratt guy. And what they did is they, with the chair, they signed an MOU, and McGill will work on the design, and ETS will work on the manufacturing, and Concordia will work on the supply chain. And the idea for Siemens is to help them, double down on the building blocks for a full PLM system for the integration of manufacturing, engineering, manufacturing, repair, and supply chain. So that's an example of successful industry academia cooperation, and we have a lot of examples like this along the industry, the aerospace industry in Montreal. So I showed this yesterday, the industry itself. So again, I will reiterate the point that a good portion of this are foreign subsidiaries, and if you even track the DNA, the ancestry of the one you think are Canadian, a lot of them were also foreign subsidiaries. So and it's a testament to the open system that we have in our world. Hola. So that's sorry, am I running out of time already? Okay, so very quickly, I'll go through the mini cases. So Pratt Canada on the top left, in about year circa 2000, we were already looking at the digital engine, already looking at it on a life cycle basis, as designed, as built, as maintained. Although it was a challenge then, we didn't have the tools, and now what Siemens is showing us the present and a bit of the future. That's where we were going 15 years ago. Second, the small turbofan, PW600, the engine on the Siemens example aircraft actually. Pratt introduced the assembly line with takt time based on the principle of Ito-san, and United Technologies has always been a student of Toyota Way. And we had this engine built from the late 2000 on a takt time of 8 hours, because it was on the Mustang at Cessna, it was on the Eclipse, and it was also on the Phenom 100 and a few other undisclosed programs. So that's kind of the past. Now the present, Pratt invested into advanced machining intelligence cells, and Pratt & Whitney in the United States gave the mandate to the Canadian to create 3, eventually 4 moving lines for pure power components, the pure power engine. And they did that, and I spoke with them recently, and what's interesting is not only the fact that it's hands-off from initial manufacturing all the way to quality acceptance, but also it's beyond WASP alloy. It is, you're looking at very exotic material that have machinability index of about 4% compared to 20% for Inconel, which is already a very big challenge. And ME16, metals with less nickel, with more carbon, so advanced material. So this is what Pratt is doing now, and what they want to do is roll out that automation across their 3 engine factories worldwide, actually Canada-wide, in order to be able to introduce that on their 3,000 engines they produce every year. And there's a lot of complexity there. So this is GE Bromont. So G. Bromont came as an offset program. I mentioned that yesterday. The automation was introduced with the Kaizen process, up to 90 robots. And then G was looking for a center of excellence, and they won the award in 2013. And since then, they went from 90 robots to 200 robots, and the number of employees increased by 50%, which is interesting. It did not decrease. But if you go into the cells, once a cell had 50 employees, people doing not very interesting jobs, and now the robot is taking care of it. Except robots cannot always pick up parts, so the employees sometimes put the part in the right sleeve, and then the robot put the part in the furnace, then they put the part in the rotary forge, and then they quench the part, and then they put the part off. And then the part, interestingly, goes to another lab, and then the advanced robot looks at the leading edge of the compressor. They do all compressor blades there for 56, LEAP, and Gen X. And the most important part on the compressor airfoil is the roundness of its leading edge with min-max. And I've seen it in action where actually they use laser, and you can see to essentially profile the blade, and they try to smooth it as much as possible and recurring by iteration, choosing the right brush or the right file, and it's all done on its own. And it's nice to look at, and that for me is a smart factory right there. And now last year they've announced investing $238 million to go the next step in terms of smart factory powered by AI. Arconic is an Arcoa division, and I'll go quickly over this one, but essentially what they did is they won the Enterprise of 2016 award. This is a medium-sized company for titanium machining by introducing an operating system that actually allows you to schedule your work and download the MES information onto a tablet for the technician on the shop floor, and they control the engineering data from a centralized basis, etc. The next one is more the future. So the APN Global won the Factory of the Year award this year in Montreal. It's a third generation family business. There are only 150 employees, but their growth rate was nothing short of spectacular from the base. What you see on the bottom right-hand side is the new machinist. So the new machinist looks like he's coding social media stuff. He's actually driving the shop. And what they do is they have an ERP of ERPs, which is called Meta 4. And Meta 4 would actually federate in their system ERP, MES, CAM, CAD, and the quality system. And what's even more interesting with these guys is that they're selling their Meta 4 operating system to others on their license scheme. So this is a quick series of mini cases to see how the 9 technologies of 4.0 actually put in use. So the summary is the same as last time. If you want to know more, you can talk to your embassy representative in Montreal International, and you can come and see the industry for yourself in April at the Aeromart event, where all the suppliers and all the customers will be in for 1 week together, and we can help you schedule your appointments. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. 从他的简报资料里面，我们可以看到，其实加拿大在不管是在智慧制造或是未来的 AI 的投入，相当大的心力。他们除了对客户的要求直接拿来做 case 的 study 以外，他们结合了相关的企业跟相关的投资者，然后让这样子的不管是工业4.0的发展，或是未来 AI 的发展，都有一定的效果。接着下来，我们邀请这一位